Hi, I'm Tristan from Infinity Group, and I'm joined by Sophia, also from Infinity Group, and Claire from Microsoft.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about building a business case for AI and how to deploy AI within your organisation. So first of all, we're going to talk a bit about the approach, I suppose. So it's important when we're thinking about AI initiatives that we've got a problem to solve. So we need to make sure that there's going to be a tangible benefit for deploying AI. So we're not deploying it as a tool and then looking for a problem to solve. We're approaching it in the right order. And lots of the customers that we speak to, quite often AI is part of the solution, but also there's process re-engineering that needs to happen, or it's the way that teams interact with each other, or the way the company's data is structured. So there's more to think about, I think, than just putting AI in and expecting it to kind of magically solve problems. So Infinity Group, we've devised a kind of 3-stage process to address that problem. So the first part of that we call AI aware, and that's about education, I suppose. So it's still a very new technology, and it's a new tool. So that's about educating people what the possibilities are, but also maybe what some of the pitfalls and dangers might be, and how best to approach the process. So kind of start with that and set the scene with our customers. So it's a fairly short, sharp workshop that we run. Next is a readiness piece. So in almost every case, there's data work that needs to happen. So data needs to be secure, it needs to be up to date, needs to be of good quality, because AI is only going to answer the questions as well as the information that it's got to answer those questions. So we need to make sure that we're ready from a kind of technical standpoint, but also there's a kind of people readiness element there as well. So the kind of change management angle, education, making sure we carry on with adoption throughout the process as well. So once that readiness piece is done, we then move on to what we call AI deployment. So following the readiness exercise, we then go into deployment. So we've got an AI deploy product. And Sophia, we've actually run that internally, haven't we? So do you want to talk a bit about what that involves and how it works?
Yeah, so every 2 weeks, we host an AI advocacy group where all the employees are invited to attend and kind of share how they're using AI and how it's helping them be more efficient and better at work. And we're also kind of sharing how much time it saves on a weekly basis. And it's really, really cool to see how creative people are getting with Copilot and how much time we're saving every week. And I think it's really great what you said about process re-engineering. Sometimes we're so used to doing something every single day in the same way, and then you attend a meeting and you hear somebody use Copilot for that and save 2 or 3 hours a week, and you think, okay, wow, I didn't even think about using it for that purpose. And it's really great to kind of to share and get new ideas.
Yeah, and being able to quantify that stuff's really important as well. So we're kind of capturing that on a weekly basis and building a business case as we go effectively for rolling it out more widely. And interestingly, we started with a pilot group of about 10 or 15, I think, wasn't it, to start with? And every week we're getting people asked to join that group because they want to be part of it. So that's helped with the kind of adoption piece and internal PR. And we use tools like Viva Engage to shout about good use cases and things that have worked. And as part of that as well, so we're looking at things we can do, I guess, with Copilot out of the box, aren't we? So how can we save time and increase efficiency in processes and those kind of things? But also some bigger initiatives have come out of that, haven't they?
Definitely, yeah. So we track all of the ideas that come in, and it's a great way to record what kind of problems people are solving and where we can create something to help. So I think the HR agent that we just launched is one great example of that. And it's a, should I explain what it is?
Yeah, you got to say his name as well.
Okay. So we just launched Henry, the HR agent and Copilot. He or it lives in everyone's teams, and people can text the agent at any time of the day and ask any kind of HR related query. And so it's meant to really kind of help the HR team not have to answer so many questions that they may get. And it's just very quick access for any employee, and they don't have to kind of go and look through all the documents and try to find the answer to their policy related questions. So that's kind of our first big launch.
Yeah, and he's never on holiday and he never sleeps.
No, exactly.
And I think one of the cool things about him as well is if you can't answer the question, we've set him up so that he logs a ticket with people services, which is how people would have started that process originally. So it's kind of removed the friction there. So you can ask the question. If you get an answer, great. If not, you kind of roll into the process. So we've used Power Automate there. So it's a good example, I think, of the process engineering side plus AI.
And I think it's a really good kind of first introduction to an AI agent, because with Henry, we're also educating people on what you can do with him or what you can't. So now that we're looking for other kind of use cases where we can make other agents, probably marketing will be next, and it will be a little bit more advanced and maybe a little bit more configured than Henry. I think Henry is a good introduction to what it can do, and then we can even bring it to the next level and make it.
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, we're looking at kind of tone of voice and that kind of thing. Is that right?
We're right now, we have so many ideas, and it's about really finding what is feasible and what has the biggest impact. So we're still in the process of identifying. And
that comes back to the business case thing, right? So
exactly,
what can we do that's simple and effective, essentially, is going to deliver value? And comes back to the way we've kind of structured the advocacy group. That I think it's important to get stakeholders from all across the business, because we wouldn't have got such a diverse set of ideas if we'd have made it an IT thing or an innovation lab thing. It's important to get everyone involved. Yeah, good. So what we've done then is take that advocacy group model and kind of package it up so we can now deliver that for customers as well. So effectively deliver the same service will facilitate a working group, help to gather those ideas and gather a business case. But having done it ourselves, means we've got an experience of how to run that, what to do, what not to do, how to get the adoption levels up and get people's buy-in. So it'd be interesting to hear from you, Claire, from a Microsoft standpoint, whether we're doing it right, whether that kind of fits the model. And I think there's this idea of kind of customer zero, isn't there, as well, which we've kind of spoken to.
Yeah, absolutely. Customer zero is hugely important to Microsoft. It's a big focus. We're interested to work with partners to make sure that you've got the experience, that you've got licenses, you've utilized Copilot, you've built your own agents, you're solving your own problems, and you've transformed your own business internally with the use of Copilot. And you then can take it to your customers and prove to them that something works or something doesn't work. It's all about lessons learned. So internally, your overall deployment and adoption of Copilot within Infinity Group, it sounds great. You've run it as a proper project, you've created your AI advocacy group, you're having regular meetings, you're learning and training all the time, which is really important to keep up with everything that's changing on such a regular basis. A lot of that is about continuous improvement, and the fact that you're keeping up with that and able to take what's the latest and greatest to your customers and have these conversations with them, rather than them perhaps approaching you and asking you things that you can't answer. If you've got licenses in place, you've done this yourself internally, you've got great experience, then taking that to your customers really puts you in a good position with your customers to be able to help them and support them moving forward.
Yeah, it's an important part of our approach, I think, not to treat it like a thing with a start and an end, because there's always more value you can uncover and use cases you haven't thought of, and the technology is changing all the time. So I think it's from a product standpoint, it's the fastest moving thing that's out there. The models are changing all the time and it can do more and more. So in terms of us working with Microsoft, it's about understanding what's available for us so that we can communicate that to our customers as well. So once we kind of deployed those couple of key use cases, we've now started to go into departments, haven't we, and look at maybe the next level of complexity and the next level of detail by actually holding specific meetings with departments.
Yeah, so we're working right now with the marketing team and trying to identify kind of the best ideas that we should take forward, because there are so many ideas, but it's really about evaluating, okay, what can we do and what makes sense. And so we're still in the process of defining that, but it looks very promising. It is very, very exciting because it's not something that, like you said, it is very new. So it's great to be able to build that. Yeah.
There's big differences in complexity, isn't there, in some of those use cases as well. So we're kind of looking at it through the lens of what we can do today, both in terms of the technology, but also where the people are at and their ability to kind of manage that change and use the new technology. But equally, we're kind of looking forward and looking at the Microsoft roadmap and seeing things like Copilot agents and some of the stuff you can do with Copilot Studio coming, and that's potentially going to unlock a load more use cases. So Claire, have you got any insider thoughts on what we should be looking at next?
Yeah, I mean, we've recently had notification of Wave 2 for Copilot that was launched very recently. There is a roadmap out there about what's coming in the future, and it does revolve heavily around Copilot agents. So being able to custom build agents specifically to your departments within your organisation is going to be, I think, really quite big for a lot of customers. Also, I suppose, going back to that use case business that you mentioned, I think that with the explosion of AI and Copilot, a lot of organisations just want AI, implement it, do it now. There is a certain amount that's available to you out of the box. However, those use cases, it's so important to spend time with your customers to understand what their actual requirements and goals are, to build those use cases that are specific to them, and then to help them with building out these solutions. And I think with a lot of the agents that will be coming, those are going to be very useful within that area. And when customers start seeing how those can be utilised in the future, I think it's going to excite them a little bit.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point as well, isn't it? So the kind of core tools are becoming so prolific now that in itself is not a differentiator or a competitive advantage. It's going to be making the most of things like agents and data and processes that are specific to you as a business. That's going to accelerate your growth and set you apart from the competition. So I guess in the advocacy group concept, we've got a way of capturing that stuff already and a framework and a working group in place. So as the technology evolves, we've got a group of people that can make the most of it.
But we also make sure to bring people together and really go deep into the requirements and into understanding, okay, what are the problems that we're trying to solve here, which is, like you said, is really important.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the agent piece, the benefit is going to be automating parts of a process to start with, at least. So it's looking at, right, we're not going to reimagine the whole kind of end-to-end customer journey. Actually, what bits out of that can we automate away and then focus on the stuff that really affects the customer, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also then kind of lends itself towards the whole adoption and change management piece as well, because early on, perhaps customers maybe didn't see the benefit of the adoption and change management pieces of work that were perhaps suggested by partners and yourselves. And maybe now that they're realising that the initial part of implementing and deploying Copilot or AI is a small amount of that is technical work with what you previously mentioned, but actually the majority of it is around transforming business processes and adopting new ways of working. There's always reluctance in some areas, and it's hard to train people when they're used to working in a certain way to then make them kind of rework really how they do things on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's a real fundamental change in behaviour, isn't it? To think, actually, I'm going to go AI first. People are used to search and they're used to kind of looking for things and creating content. So to change that behaviour takes time, doesn't it? And that's, I guess, but the working group's about reinforcing that as well. And this is how you work, not necessarily just the technology.
But I think that's why AI Advocacy Group is so good, because we come together and we kind of share new ideas and we help each other reimagine the daily work tasks, and also we kind of bring in news and we educate kind of each other about what new technology is coming out, because like you said, it is so fast and it's so hard to keep track of everything new that comes out, even just from Microsoft alone. And so we begin every group by kind of sharing the news and seeing, okay, what's new.
Yeah, you can see those light bulb moments, can't you?
Yeah, exactly,
I could use that. That's going to save me time as well. So without meeting like that, you'd end up with silos of, I guess, people that are getting benefit, but it wouldn't proliferate to the whole business.
Yeah. Encourages more people to use it as well.
So we kind of uncovered lots of great use cases there, haven't we, and how we kind of drive that behavioural change. I guess from a business standpoint, when we're thinking about a business case and where to invest. So there's different types of Copilot. There's different types of AI technology out there within Azure as well. So in your view, Claire, what's the place to start in terms of building that business case?
With the business case builder, it's a great starting point for customers to get a report and understand how this is going to benefit their business and bring value to them. It's also going to help them to be able to then go on and perhaps think about what the actual goals are that they need to achieve as part of building out their business case. A good way to perhaps start is by utilising Copilot for Microsoft 365 initially, and depending on what the license SKUs are of the customer, and then potentially running pilots and starting to use some of the solutions that they might build on Copilot Studio as examples.
And then internally as well, where they're moving into Copilot for sales, Copilot for service, those kinds of conversations. So again, that opens up a wider topic around CRM and ERP and whether there's efficiency to be had there, and how AI can help in the context of business applications, I think, as well, beyond the kind of productivity suite. And then we start thinking about AI more broadly as well, so Azure AI tools. So once we kind of started to build traction, how important do you think the kind of feedback loop is there to kind of continuously improve?
I think it's really important because we need to know what is working well and what is not, and there's no way to kind of find out how useful the users are finding the solution that we built without actually without surveying and asking them directly for feedback. So right now that we've implemented Henry, the next step for us is really to send out a long survey. It's something that I'm working on right now, actually, to understand how much time is it saving, how often do people use it, what are some of the issues that they are encountering with it, and we will use all that information to make it even better.
Yeah. Cool. And Henry's a good example, I think, of the need to have clean and accurate data. It's looking at HR policies, that kind of thing, isn't it? So, as I said at the start, it's something we work a lot with our customers on, is that data piece. Claire, how important is that from a SharePoint perspective, but more broadly as well?
Yeah, it's very important, and it's something that we've brought up time and time again over the years, that it's important for organisations to structure their data properly, to make sure it's secure and governed. Otherwise, the wrong data might get into the wrong hands, and we don't want that to happen, certainly. Maybe you may be seeing some pushback from customers where there may be a requirement to run a piece of work to work on their security and governance. They might want to just deploy Copilot or deploy AI quickly, and they'll think about that later. It might be time to think about it now, really, sooner rather than later, because as I said, you don't want the wrong documents to get into the wrong hands. Securing that data is hugely important.
So yeah, there's automated tools to help that, isn't there? So things like document classification and tagging and that kind of thing. So it's not a manual task that needs to be done, but it is something that needs to be sorted out before we go on that AI journey. And yeah, it's not a one-off job either, is it? It's something that you need to maintain and keep going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not necessarily something that all needs to be done at the same time either. It can be done in stages. Perhaps the customer can pick specific sites and make those available for their users to draw the data from, without having to run the security and governance piece on all of their data at once, because for bigger organisations, obviously, it's going to be a bigger job to do that piece of work.
Yeah, and our experience as well, we created a Copilot for a specific scenario, so that was the data that we needed to keep clean, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it took some time to clean it up, but there's no way to launch the Copilot without cleaning the data, because then the users would be getting the wrong information, and there's no point in kind of having a Copilot that's there to answer your questions if it has access to the wrong documents and will give you wrong information. So it's really important to clean all the data and make sure that it will give the right answers.
Yeah, so I think there's that cleanliness and quality point as well, but I think a lot of nervousness from our customers comes from maybe exposing data that people had access to, but they didn't know they had access to before, and then AI will surface it. So, again, I think those security tools are important as well, Claire.
Yeah, running reports to see who's got access to what data is quite important. And also utilising something like restricted sites within SharePoint, which enables you to restrict those from any of the results that come back through Copilot, and enables you a bit of time delay to then, do your security work within that data.
Another big benefit we've seen of the AI advocacy group is about controlling the organisation's approach to AI as well. So because it's so prolific now, if we don't have a strategy and we don't provide people with tools, they'll go and find their own. And then we're not in control of the tools they're using, whether that's leaking data or training public models, that kind of thing. So I think by having a strategy and communicating that with the business in the way that we do, we're adding some control in there and preventing that kind of shadow AI type behaviour happening.
Exactly, and that's something that we've definitely seen before with other technologies as well, the whole shadow IT piece. Yeah. And it makes it much easier for organisations to manage and control these tools internally rather than users going out and using something that they can't control. Obviously, things like Viva are helping us with insights on Copilot usage. We've got the Copilot dashboard, which helps us to understand what's being used internally around Copilot, which is great. And we've got the admin center as well, and all the ability to view who's doing what there as well.
Yeah, we found it much better to have a kind of open communication about it, I think, rather than here's a really strict set of policies and all this stuff's blocked and that kind of thing. It's better to have that conversation out in the open and guide people towards the tools that we want them to use. I know in the early days of the advocacy group we had all kinds of different AI tools kind of popping up in use cases, but now we've educated people on what you can do with Copilot and its capabilities, plus what you can do with Copilot Studio. They're now starting to see the benefit of a unified strategy and stick to a single technology, and effectively make kind of maintenance simpler, support simpler. They know where to go to use these things. So yeah, by having that conversation out in the open, I think that's definitely helped. Okay, so there's potentially an elephant in the room here in terms of all of these things have a license cost to them, and not necessarily all extras, but there is a cost there. So for me, it's about how do we justify that if we're looking at a business case. And actually, if we look at how someone spends their time, they haven't got to save a great deal of time to pay back that license. We're looking at a number of days in terms of payback time on a Copilot license, for example. So I think for me, being able to quantify that, which we do through the advocacy group, and then being able to really demonstrate that value. I've personally saved hours on a simple task, so that really quickly starts to demonstrate the value of it. So yeah, for me personally, I think that's the most compelling thing is how quick we can realise value from these things. Sophia, I don't know what your experience is. What would you say is the best thing about Copilot?
I think for me, it's the fact that it really does help me do better, because I've joined fairly recently, so I'm still kind of learning everything, and I think just having that helper there at any point, otherwise I would have to kind of maybe ask my manager or kind of look for that information, but it can help me do anything, and it kind of improves my skills, because if I'm not sure how to do something in Excel or make a presentation, it's always there, and it's so versatile, and it really helps with anything.
That's good. I guess you're in that habit of, let's say, going there first rather than going searching for stuff or asking people.
Exactly.
You start there.
Yeah. You can basically figure things out yourself so much more easily. Yeah,
good. Thank you. And Claire, what's your most compelling Copilot thing?
Wow, there are so many. I guess, similarly to yours, I think it's, that not having to start a project from scratch. If you're creating a presentation or you need content and you need to create content fairly quickly, it's very time consuming, but to be able to type a few prompts in and get that information immediately makes a big difference to my life, definitely.
Yeah, and we're seeing the same internally and with our customers. It's freeing up that time to do the bit of the job that you enjoy and the bit that you kind of signed up for, and be creative. Those are all the reasons we're seeing people adopt it so quickly, I think. So thank you very much for joining me, Claire. Thank you, Sophia, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.